Do you have an investment close to your heart?
I had a personal connection with Coco FM because I used to have a podcast on Coco FM. I used to do something called Daily Ayurvedic Tips in Hindi every day on Coco FM. And that went viral. At that time, it got 17,000 views.
How do you pick companies that you want to angel invest in?
50% of the decision goes on who's the founder, why do they have a right to in that space, why would they fight through tough times. A lot of people used to say, you don't look at logistics, your wife looks at logistics, like how does it make sense? And I was like, no. She's better at it. And people used to joke that when you sell the company, Arjun can go and leave, but Trisha can't leave. Right? Because she was really the heart of the organization.
How did you make that decision of selling at a time that you were doing really well probably? And have you ever regretted that decision?
Look, I think firstly I was young.
I look gorge. I'm in a serious mode right now. That is... This is how we make viral content here. That's all. Okay. Welcome back to the Bitchaari Podcast. If you are someone who has ever been called bitch or Bitchaari, this is the space for you. You are the superwoman here. Doesn't matter what society thinks about your choices and preferences. Join us in exploring what it takes to be an ambitious woman. The bad, the ugly, the good, the vulnerable. Thank you so much for watching us. Welcome back to another episode of the Bitchaari Podcast. We have Arjun Vaidya today, one of my favorite personal brands these days on LinkedIn, co-founder of V3 Ventures, also the founder of Dr. Vaidya's, which is India's largest Ayurvedic brand online, and which is now acquired. I have so many questions for you because, you know, I keep reading your posts on LinkedIn and I'm like, how does he come up with these ideas and then breaks it down? So actually, let me start with that question, right? How do you come up with these ideas, which could be a thesis on an industry or breaking down an industry news, and then go about breaking it down? What is the process?
Yeah, look, I think I was talking about this before we even started recording. The reason I started doing this, right? The reason I started doing this was the world shut in March 2020. And before the world shut, they were the best 3 months of Dr. Vaidya. So when the world shut, I was like, how is this happening to me that in our best 3 months, we have to stop, right? And we stopped work on March 21st, and then April 1st we reopened because we were essential. So we reopened our factory, our warehouse, our offices. But at that time, while business was booming, e-commerce ROI was at the highest it's ever been, it was really hard to stay open, right? Why was it hard to stay open? Because if you remember in April 2020, everyone was really scared. People were scared to come into the offices, the warehouses, etc., all of that. So we ran a business where we did 5,000 to 10,000 orders a day on our website with 6 people in the warehouse, 3 of which were my wife, me and my brother, who weren't used to being in the warehouse. My brother wasn't even from the business. He was working in my family business, but we asked him for help, right? So I think with that background and sort of that thought process, I said it's really important to share the hardships that we're going through, but still sort of get people to appreciate what businesses are doing at that time to stay open, and what my team is doing and what the rest of the people around us are doing to get us our food and our medicines and our products. So it started with that, and then I remember I did one post on my grandmother also helping us pack orders. We'd come in the night home and we'd at least label the courier envelopes. And that went viral. At that time it got 17,000 views. Today that's not a lot, but at that time I was like...
For you, that's not a lot.
Wow. At that time, 17,000 views.
How many followers did you have that time?
Maybe like 10,000, 5,000, something like that. I didn't even check, honestly. But I think when people started appreciating that, I said, okay, there is a story that needs to be told because other brands are going through this. Everyone resonates with this. So I think that's why I started. And then I started enjoying doing it. I started enjoying sharing things. And slowly I realized that there are things that I'm talking about in relation to the founder journey. There are things I'm talking about in relation to market understanding, thesis building, what is D2C, that founders used to come to me and say, I enjoy reading your posts. Please keep writing. Please be regular. You haven't posted for 1 month. We read it. We enjoy it, right? And so I said, if people enjoy it and there's something that I have to say that people can gain value from, that's why I do it.
No, that's for sure. I mean, recently I read your, even Ayodhya's, the post that you did, and it made so much sense because I was confused how to go about saying for or against, you know. And I actually went and kind of took reference from what you were saying in terms of the economic opportunity.
By the way, I that post had nothing to do with for or against. I have no political view on for or against. But I just talked about the economic opportunity that will come out of it. And it's massive, right? 85,000 crores of economic opportunity, 73 hotels opening, 100,000 passengers on a daily basis, 4 crores.
There are more travelers than residents.
1:10 ratio of residents to travelers. So I think it's a massive business opportunity, and that's what I thought I'll talk about.
So are all your posts focused on business opportunities and D2C? Can we bucket it like that?
I talk about 4 things, which I personally enjoy, right? Startups and investing, D2C, a personal journey of a founder, entrepreneur, investor, now my life, and then sports. Sports is a little bit offbeat, honestly. But the reason I talk about sports in relation to all of this is because I feel there's lots that we can learn in mentality from sports people, right? So for example, yesterday, Rohan Bopanna became world number 1 in tennis doubles. World number 1. Rohan Bopanna is 43 years old. If you see Rohan Bopanna, he has a beard with white hair on it. Not even grey, white hair on it. But just so inspiring that at 43, when people would have done 3, 4, 5, 7 years of commentary, he's still playing. And he's still winning. He won his semi-final this morning. So lots on the mentality from sports people as well, which I enjoy talking about.
Yeah, they often say, right, athletes and founders kind of have the same will or determination.
Actually, we have lots to learn from them. Like lots to learn from them. I ran the half marathon this Sunday. It was my 5th half marathon. And it's all mentality. It's all mindset, right? Like I was prepping for the half marathon and I was not running fast. Like I had a pace in mind. I wanted to finish the half marathon inside 2 hours. So I had to run at 5 minutes, 35 seconds per kilometer. And the whole time I was training at 5:50, 6 minutes, all of that. And it was just not happening. And I was like, okay, like I'm going to try, but I don't think it's going to happen, whatever. 1 week or 9 days before the half marathon, I said I'm going to do a 15K run today. And I was celebrating my kid's first birthday in Alibag, and so I went for a run. When I put that game face on and I said, I'm going to do this now, it's like 9 days before the run, I did it easily. It's all in the mind, right? I was running, I knew I wanted to do it, but I didn't concentrate enough or have that mentality enough. And I think that's amazing learning from sports people. The other thing that's amazing about sports people is that failure and success are public. As entrepreneurs, you fail, but it's in your office, right? Yeah. Like the only business that actually has public failures and success are restaurants and bars. Because if a restaurant is empty, a restaurant's empty. And whatever the entrepreneur may want to say and do, on a Friday night the restaurant's empty, it's empty, right? But other than that, actually, we don't actually have our success and failures as public. What I put on LinkedIn is a very filtered version of reality, right? I can say whatever I want to say, but what's happening on a day-to-day basis in my office is not clear. But for sports people, the whole world is watching you fail or succeed every single day, and that pressure is immense. So lots to learn for us from them as well.
I completely agree. And what you said about, having that process in mind, okay, I want to do a kilometer in 5 minutes, then I'll probably do it. It's not a sprint for me, it's a marathon, right? No, it's so interesting. I want to step back and actually talk about, you said that Dr. Vaidya's was an essential. So Ayurveda products and like the medicines are essential, or because it comes in alternative?
It is alternative. At that time, it was bucketed under essentials because the government was talking about, very publicly actually, about immunity boosting through Ayurveda, whether it was Chavanprash or Ashwagandha or the Ayush Kwath, the sort of Kadha that they were talking about. So all of these products technically fall under essentials. And then I think in general, chronic patients suffering from diabetes, arthritis, asthma, a lot of those patients as well. So we were bucketed under essential for that reason. But I think we got a massive fillip in our business when COVID hit because there was online for us. We were online first business. 2, there was massive government support. And 3, people started becoming interested in Ayurveda. Yeah. I told my team, I remember that time, one thing. I said, look, there will be hundreds of thousands of customers who are coming in for immunity. Yeah. It's great. definitely we should ride that wave. But this wave will not last forever. So our job is for all those customers who are interested in immunity to bring them back for something else. If you can sell one more product to them, you have got them bought into the science of Ayurveda, not the fad. Immunity ashwagandha during COVID, okay, I had it, but then when COVID went away, I may not have the ashwagandha capsules every day. Few people will have it, but not everyone. So for the rest of the people, how do I bring them in with something else?
So did you do something differently during COVID to get them back?
No, I think like the great part about Ayurvedic business is retention. Ayurveda doesn't act instantly, and so you bring customers back multiple times for your products, for your supplements, etc. All of that. And I think that was something that really worked for us. We used to call the customers back. We used to send WhatsApps. We used to give free consultation with an Ayurvedic doctor to get them bought into this beautiful science. I think that really worked for us.
No, that makes so much sense. So I have obviously, because I've used Live It Up, and your branding was so on point. Nobody could have guessed that you will, sell the business at some point. And this is an emotional question, really. But how did you make that decision of selling at a time where you were doing really well, probably? And have you ever regretted that decision?
I'll first talk about Live It Up, because Live It Up is my favorite product. And it has a soft spot in my heart because it's my favorite creation as well, right? So Live It Up was the first product we ever made at Dr. Vaidya's. I was 24 and a half when I launched the business. So clearly, I was not interested in selling diabetes, arthritis and asthma. Live It Up was great fun to sell because we promoted it through restaurants, bars, clubs, pubs, lounges, wine shops, events. So every Wednesday, Friday and Saturday, I was actually standing outside a bar handing out Live It Up. And at 24 and a half, it was great fun, right? I remember my wife was my girlfriend at the time. We were dating. We would just be out, and I would force her to come with me, and we'd just be out at a different bar. I pretty much tried all the bars that opened between 2016 and 2018 in Bombay. I think at that time we didn't have money to market, right? So my dad gave me the idea actually. He said, your product is so good, you're so confident in the efficacy of your product, just give it to people. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, it works, right? So if you give out unlimited number of packets of this product to people and they get hooked, they'll keep coming back. He said a weird thing at that time, and it was funny coming from dad. He said, how did the drug dealers market coke? They gave a few samples to people got addicted to it, and then they went on. And he was like, I'm not saying to it that you're not selling coke, but you're selling a product that really works, right? And so if you get people to try it, it's the best form of marketing. So we gave out 250,000 packets of Live It Up free in the first year, and then everybody knew Live It Up. At least in the Bombay market, everybody knew Live It Up. I think one thing I learned about business while building Dr. Vaidya's was the hypothesis that you go out with may not necessarily be the hypothesis that you end up with. And so Live It Up was the hypothesis I went out with. It was my favorite product I ever created. I still at every single party have Live It Up. It's in my bag, it's in my car, it's everywhere for me. And I'm still sort of the brand ambassador of that
product is in many houses still.
Absolutely, but it never made business sense or never became a big business. Why? Because actually that conversation about hangover is a very urban conversation. It's a conversation among million or less people in our country, and so at 80 rupees a pack and you consume only half or less than half the pack when you go out at night, there was not really a big use case for a business. So the maximum sales Live It Up ever did in a month was 30-40 lakhs, right? Ever in wedding season. So actually the business became something else, and we had the humility to accept that that's not, my hypothesis is not the way actually the business was. I think another important question you asked is, how did we decide to let the business go, right? We grew 7x from March 2020, which is when sort of COVID happened, till the end of that year.
That is crazy.
Till December 2020. And look, I mean, we were good. We were good business people, we were smart, etc., all of that. But we had lots of tailwinds supporting us, lots of tailwinds supporting us. And then in that year, at the end of the year, our investors made an offer to acquire the business. I think for us, at sort of 5,000 orders a day, call it 8 crores a month in sales, it started feeling like we were doing a great job. But as an entrepreneur, you also start seeing when there's resistance. What I mean by resistance, I mean, I don't know how much scale I'll get from here. And so we were very good at online, but we didn't know anything about offline.
Okay.
The future of the business for the next leg of 5x growth would have been offline. And we were honest enough to sit in front of the mirror and accept that we were not the right people for offline. So could we grow the business 60-80% over the next few years online? Yes. Could we grow the business 5x online? No. Not from a 100 crore ARR business. And so then we said, if that's the case, then ego aside, are we the right people to lead this business forward? No. I will caveat this with one thing. We got offered really fair value and we made a significant amount of outcome from the sale of the business. But we had the maturity to take that call and let it go. And honestly, I think regrets wise, zero regrets, because I accepted what I was doing, right? So I remember our last day at the office, we called both sets of parents and both sets of siblings, my wife and our parents and our siblings. We had pizza at 9 p.m. on the same lunch table that we had lunch every day in the office, and then we left. And so my dad said one thing. He said, you sowed the seed, Dr. Vaidya is a plant today. Whether it becomes the biggest tree in the world or the plant dies, it's not your destiny anymore. You are now a customer and a cheerleader of the brand. Whatever happens is out of your control. Accept that, that's how it is. So I got a call today from someone who was applying for a job at Dr. Vaidya. So wanted his help for his friend to apply for a job at Dr. Vaidya. And I said, apply through HR. And he said, no, connect me to HR. I was like, it's been 2 years since I've left the business. I don't even know if the same HR is there. And honestly, it's not my lookout anymore. I don't want to be involved on a day-to-day basis. I'm out now. I'm not running it.
Yeah, I mean, you created something and you gave it out to the world to kind of...
It's easier said than done. But we just, once you rip off the band-aid, you rip off the band-aid.
I can imagine.
I went back to the office once since we exited the business, just once. And now that office where we used to operate out of is not even being used by the company anymore. But I went back once, I think, to pick up something. That's about it.
And you know why I asked this is because you very rightly said, right, that I think if you're in India, then retail you have to do, I think, when you're in D2C, right? And you were not doing retail. So this is a conscious decision that you and Tisha never wanted to get into retail.
No, we did it. That's how we started Dr. Vaidya's, and we failed miserably. So if we failed miserably at it, look, there will be Dr. Vaidya's in retail. You will see it very soon. It's already in retail, it's available. And maybe the next leg of success of Dr. Vaidya's will be retail. But we were not the right people to do it.
No, that is so cool, Arjun. Thank you for sharing that actually. Because it's founders don't say it, na. They're like, no, we're good at it, but...
I think I accepted it.
No, very interesting. So we were talking earlier, by the way, that obviously you have a super healthy lifestyle. I'm sorry, I really want to ask this. So you've never had an aerated drink. Of course, it helps with health, but what is it? It's been a lifestyle. Your family has kind of ingrained this, or?
No family ingrained or anything like that. I don't have tea, coffee, aerated drinks. I'm off gluten and sugar. Each of them have a different story. The aerated drinks is I grew up with asthma. So it would jack my throat if I had Coke, Limca, Fanta, Sprite. So by the time I started having it, I was 13 years old. It's an acquired taste when you're 13 years old to have this. So no taste for that. Tea and coffee usually you start having when you're in college, right? Like when I was in school and all, obviously when I had it in college. So I had a roommate from college who used to wake up in the morning without having a shower or brushing his teeth. He would have a black coffee and a cigarette. Sometimes the black coffee would not even be hot, it would be cold. I was like, this is disgusting. I don't want to get addicted to this stuff. So I never had tea or coffee for that reason. Gluten, actually, I had a friend who told me once that you'll feel much healthier if you give up gluten. He said it in passing at his wedding Sangeet practice. So I said, okay, do you have gluten? He said, no, I've given it up for the last few months. I was like, okay, I'll give it up as well. He started having it in 3 months. It's been 4 years for me now. And then sugar, artificial sugar. My wife has a sweet tooth. So after we got married, every day there would be some or the other dessert being consumed and both of us would have it. And then I said, this is really not healthy for us. So we said, okay, let's give it up for a month. We were giving it up for a month. Then we met a friend who said, giving it up for a month means nothing, you give it up for 100 days. We gave it up for 100 days. Then the 100th day we had sugar. So I had gajar halwa and vanilla ice cream. My body went into shock. I mean, I went overboard also after 100 days having gajar halwa and vanilla ice cream. But I started shivering. And that's when I realized this can't be good for you.
Oh God.
So now I have gluten and sugar once, twice a month, just so that I'm not intolerant, because at some point in life you may be forced to have it, but I try to stay away from it completely.
I love this lifestyle. I also want it. But no, very interesting. So actually, obviously, you've mentioned your wife a lot, and this is Bitchaari, where we actually. I always say that it's amazing that when leaders are younger and then there are more female leaders or other gender leaders, the gender diversity and everything, or the ecosystem is becoming better for women as leaders or other genders as well, right? Tisha was your co-founder at Dr. Vaidya's. So would love to understand a little about that. How did she,
Yeah, by the way, she didn't start the business with me. Okay. So we were dating, and then in 2016 October I launched the business. We failed miserably offline, as I told you. Then she was in the founding team at Nykaa, after which she worked in investing. So she said, hey, this online thing seems to be working and nobody's doing Ayurveda online. If offline is not working, why don't you try online? I said, look, it's a fantastic idea, but I don't know anything about online business. So can you come and join the business? And she was like, I don't mind, actually, I'm okay to do it. But both sets of parents were like, no, you're planning a wedding. Like, you're going to get engaged soon. You've not even got engaged, then you're going to plan a wedding and you're going to run a company. It's a disaster. Like, you're just starting your lives together. But we said, no, it's like it makes sense to do this, right? Because we have complementary skill sets and she knows online. So we got engaged. 2 months later, she joined the business. And I think that's when the fate of the business turned. Summer 2017, she joined. November 2017, we launched our website. And until she was there, it was a very average company. And after she came, it became the company it was. I'll be honest, Dr. Vaidya's could run without me because I did business development, marketing, brand. I did the factory and legal, and I ran the factory, but okay, you can contract manufacture if you really have to. But she did day-to-day ops, performance marketing, logistics, customer service, day-to-day finance, accounts. Without these things, the organization will be paralyzed. People used to joke that when you sell the company, Arjun can go and leave, but Trisha can't leave, right? Because she was really the heart of the organization. And so I am very public about saying that, and she'll never come on a platform like this. She's very shy and doesn't like to talk publicly. But without her, Dr. Vaidya's would never have become what it became. And I think until she came, it was a pretty average company, honestly.
But except for very functional things that she did, what other reason would you give it that it could not have worked without?
Look, I think firstly, I was young. There were lots of responsibilities. And managing all these 12, 15 departments was very difficult for me. When she came on board, I think she took on a lot of the things that she was good at. And actually, strange, a lot of people used to say, you don't look at logistics, your wife looks at logistics, how does it make sense? And I was like, no, she's better at it. Maybe there are, world may think that men are better at logistics, but no, she's much better than me and I'm totally okay to accept. There were a lot of times when they'd be like, no, call Arjun. And I'm like, no, but I'm not relevant for this, right? I think the other thing is she brought a different perspective to all conversations. From a team perspective, I think there are certain ways that I used to do things, there are certain ways that she used to do things. I think bringing all of that together was really amazing for the org.
No, truly. And I think something that I've noticed is that if you have a leader on board, like if Trisha was also a part of the founding team, then maybe you would have also got more women on board, as in the company, or was it always the same ratio?
Org was always more than 50% women.
Oh, is it?
Because our factory was actually run majority by women in Silvassa, and our customer service teams, our accounts teams, our marketing teams, all were women-led organizations. So I think no, that was not, that didn't have to do with it. Maybe a lot of women got attracted to the organization because there was a female co-founder. But I think it was always a 50% women organization. And by the way, it wasn't a conscious decision. We didn't believe that we'll keep this 50-50 balance. We just hired the right people and the best people for the job, and it just happened so that.
No, of course. No, very interesting. I think that, so obviously yours, Dr. Vaidya's, before it was marketed the way it was, it is a family business, right? One, obviously you moved back to India to take care of it.
Yeah.
So I want to understand that, moving, it's almost like moving away from a traditional way of doing business to a more modern way of doing it. Did you ever face things from family that, okay, no, this is how things are done? And
actually, Dr. Vaidya's is not a family business, it's a family legacy. So my dada ran a clinic. He didn't run business, a consumer products business. And so when I came back and I took it on, he had already passed. So we had lost the soul of that business. We had to create a new organization around it. I did face resistance though from his team. The people who were there were like, this is not what we used to do. We have been here for 15, 20 years. You're doing the wrong thing. I think some of them actually came along for the ride and some of them left as I came in because they said this is not for us. And that's okay, right? Yeah. But the ones that stayed really helped me because they knew a lot of things that I didn't know about my grandfather. They knew a lot of things about Ayurveda and the way he did things. So it's really nice.
No, super cool. So now tell me actually what you're doing now and how has the transition been after, selling Dr. Vaidya's to actually getting used to now you're angel investing a lot. What is going on with your professional life now?
April 21 I was free. I had nothing to do pretty much, right? So I was like, okay, now I got to figure out what's next. Yeah. I started helping founders pro bono, enjoyed that, but that was not like my future. I had some capital to invest, so I started angel investing with founders I liked. Yeah. With that I started teaching. I teach India's largest cohort-based course on e-commerce and D2C. Okay. We're 8 cohorts in now. I invested in a company called Growth School. We teach through them. Yeah. And then with all of this, I started enjoying the aspect of being an enabler and the aspect of saying, hey, I created 1 Dr. Vaidya's. Can we do something to enable 100 Dr. Vaidya's? That was the idea. And so eventually in early 22, I partnered with a large Belgian private equity fund called World Invest to launch a VC fund in India called V3. Because I said, if I'm doing it, it's nice to do angel investing, but I want to do it in a structured way. And so for the last 2 years, I've been running a VC fund. I would say it's intellectually the most stimulating work in the world. Because every day you get to meet some amazing founders, engage with them, have amazing conversations with them, and really India is buzzing.
No, but what is the thesis of V3?
V3 Ventures invests in the early stage of consumer businesses across brands, technology, enablers, and platforms. So from Cuckoo FM in the vernacular podcast space to entry in regional language
I have
upskilling.
Seen Cuckoo from like day zero.
Yeah, we have Go Zero in the local zero sugar ice cream. We have Dil Foods in the QSR space. We're doing a home and kitchen business, a backpacker hostel business. So anything consumer facing.
Oh, very cool. And if I know you can't be biased, but since you started angel investing, I'm assuming maybe 2 years ago. It's more recent than old, right? Do you have like an investment close to your heart that and talk about that?
Cuckoo FM is an investment very close to my heart for 2 reasons. One, it's the first investment I ever made from the fund. So it's my first ever institutional investment. But second, actually, I think I had a personal connection with Cuckoo FM because I used to have a podcast on Cuckoo FM. We used to do something called Daily Ayurvedic Tips in Hindi every day on Cuckoo FM. That's how I discovered the business. And I absolutely love the thesis, right? They are helping 3 million people across our country upskill themselves with positive content, right? In regional language. Who else can do that? So it's been an amazing journey with them. I've seen them scale massively over the last 1.5 to 2 years. Yeah. And I mean, sky is the limit.
They're making people pay for...
And people pay for content, yeah. People pay 99 rupees a month for that content.
Any other... so because you are...
It's another investment that I did. I like investing in the organization of what is traditional Indian culture. So I invested in a company called the Beetle Leaf Company. Okay. It's a business that sells pan on Swiggy. They have 60 or 70 outlets now across India selling pan on Swiggy.
It's like a pan corner, like a tapri, or what is it?
No, there is no front-facing location. It's a cloud pan business, yeah.
That is so cool.
And actually, I heard about it and I was like, this is so cool. I reached out to the founder myself and he called me back saying, hey, like, how did you reach out to me? I was like, I just saw your business and I liked it. So I reached out to you. He's like, I would never have the guts to reach out to you. I was like, no, I reached out to you. So yeah, it's been a nice journey with him. He's grown 4 times since we invested.
That is awesome. So tell me how much does your personal branding help in terms of you finding the startups that you want to invest in?
7 out of 10 people reply. When I started, 2 out of 10 people replied. Helps.
Whoa, that is super cool. So how do you pick companies that you want to angel invest in? Not institutional, but...
Yeah, look, I think it's the same. The thought process is the same. 50% of the decision goes on who's the founder. Why do they have a right to win in that space and why will they fight through tough times? Because we underestimate how hard it is to build a startup. 20% of the decision is something that's not talked about enough. What's the market size? I don't blame a founder if they're building a business and the business doesn't grow because there's no market. The market should have enough headroom for the business to grow 10 times from there. And the third is 30% is the boring stuff, right? sales, bottom line, gross margin, lifetime value, LTV, all of that stuff, and then team. I think you can't build a business alone. So that's what I look at when I invest, and I feel the decision whether you're putting 5 lakhs or 5 crores or 50 crores, the decision making process is the same. Because that's how it should be. Just because it's a small investment, you don't take a different decision making process.
Now, since, and this again I'm curious about, you obviously write about a lot of consumer brands, D2C. What do you think is the winning category, according to you, today and maybe in the next decade?
I'll say for the next decade, what I'm looking at, I think personal care and fashion has lots of competition now. So unless you're doing something very unique and differentiated, you may get lost in the clutter. Health and wellness has massive headroom for unique research products. Home and kitchen, not enough work being done in home and kitchen. I just did up my own new house now, and I saw that there were not enough D2C brands catering to us, from appliances to home decor to everything about the home and kitchen. I think 2 sunrise spaces I'm excited about are pets. The number of pets in India is growing, and humanization of pets exists now. People are adding their pets' names in their wedding invites. It makes sense, right? And the last thing I would say is sports and fitness is not just for a few people now. Sports, fitness is getting mainstream, right? I ran the marathon with 60,000 people on Sunday in Bombay, and by the way, they had demand for more. So clearly, if Asics, Puma, Skechers, Adidas, and Decathlon in FY24 will do 12,500 crores in sales, just 5 brands, something is happening in our country, and that's a trend going forward.
No, I completely agree. I think innovation hasn't happened enough there for sure. Again, touch a little bit on the, coming back to Bitchaari point. Something I struggle with whenever I ask someone that, can you talk about one female that you find inspiring in the world as an inspiration? Who would that be and why for you?
Honestly, I think it's closer to home, my grandmother. So we just celebrated her 85th birthday last weekend. She has had 2 bypass surgeries, has 4 stents in her heart, suffers from early onset of diabetes. She is largely immobile now, but she still does a manicure, pedicure and facial every week. She's the most positive person I know. She still spends time every single day with my 1-year-old kid. We celebrated her birthday the day before she was going to the hospital for what could have been 3 days, eventually ended up being 6 days. But she didn't show it at all to us that she was stressed, even though she hates the hospital. She's the most generous person I've seen, honestly. She taught me to give without expecting anything in return. And in my toughest day at Dr. Vaidya's, when I came back home, she saw I wasn't well and she said, "What's the problem?" I said, "It's just not growing." And she was like, "A brand takes 3 years, it's been only 2. Give it 1 more year, it'll happen." And 6 months later, we kicked off. So definitely my grandmother for me.
So cool, so interesting. No, thank you so much. But there's this one thing that we always make guests do. Just write we have a piece of paper. I want you to write an opinion that you think females get from the society that they should throw in the dustbin. Can we get a paper and pen? Okay, you can read it.
You won't be able to do it after you have kids. I think it's not fair. It's also not real, because I've seen so many moms be amazing entrepreneurs. My mom was an entrepreneur and she still spent time with us. We had so many moms at Dr. Vaidya's who weren't getting jobs in other places because they were moms and they had a break in their work life. My wife is a mom of a 1-year-old now and she still works.
And now she's going to start up. You can you can do whatever with it and throw it. Thank you so much. I think that's a wrap. That's it, folks. Please leave a comment if you liked this episode. If you are a girl boss or a woman powering through the puzzle that is patriarchy, please don't forget to give us a shout out. We need it. We need all the support. And hit that subscribe button. Press that bell icon, because it's super important for us. Thank you so much.